Okay, I hit record. Does it feel different? Johnny Holiday from Ruff Majik. Does it feel different? Hitting record?
No,
No,
it's
right?
kind of the same.
You can't even tell.
Yeah.
Uh, Wonderful to talk to you this afternoon for you, morning for me. Uh, but I'm glad this worked out, and thank you for uh, rescheduling. I apparently can't keep a kid from breaking his bones, but you know,
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Is he doing all right?
he's a kid with a broken leg. He's uncomfortable. He's
Yeah, I can get that.
he's a 3-year-old very used to running and climbing who cannot run, climb, or really stand up.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting couple days, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Uh, I want to talk to you about the Devil's Cattle, um, because I mean, there's kind of, Ruff Majik Records, and you got a couple of them now. Ruff Majik Records have always kind of like hit on multiple levels, right? Like you got your rock songs, kind of mid pace. You got your speed. You've got all you need is speed on this one, you know. But bringing Evert,
Yeah, yeah, effort, you would say.
effort. I will try and fail, I'm sure. uh, Bringing effort in on as a part of, as a writer as well as producer and a player has sort of changed that entirely. So for give me the timeline on how that happened, because it's still only a year between Tarn and the Devil's Cattle, right? So how take me through it. Take me through that process of bringing him in and sort of working on these songs.
So, yeah, okay. So let's start with Tarn. We're
Okay.
always kind of releasing albums in quick succession.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, we've always felt like each new album is something completely on its own, you know. So it's got every time we have a different production style and a different sound to it and a different way we're going. And with Tarn, we were going for a very garagey sound, I guess, and we got that gnarly garage sound down, along with like a bit of black metal influence, because I was just listening to a lot of black metal back then. But even then, Effort was recording with us already, and he was producing the album. So back then, I think he features on 2 of the songs on Tarn, actually, where he's either doing backup vocals or lending his hand on organs or whatever, and the rest of the stuff, like, he was helping us produce that. And so by the time we got to the Devil's Cattle, while we were working on the album, I was just like, we're going to be spending so much time with you on this album, you might as well just be playing on it, so just get involved. And that's how that happened, basically. But actually, he's been recording with us since Seasons.
Yeah.
Since we started with the first of the EPs that made up Seasons, he was working with us already, producing the album. And even on Seasons, he does some sneaky features in the background that nobody really knows about. So it just kind of happened naturally, I guess.
Okay. So it's that next step, right? That natural next step. How does having him writing songs and or at least contributing to the writing of songs, how does that change that working relationship? That, because as you said, he's already producing records for you guys since basically you started recording with Ruff Majik, and now he's not only producer but a member of the band.
Yeah, I don't think it changed that much, honestly, because like I said, since the beginning, it's usually I come up with riffs and lyric ideas and like basic structures of the song, and then even when he wasn't in the band, we would workshop them together, and he would be like, okay, but what about, let's do this or let's do that. So he's always kind of been like, let's say a ghost member of the band, I guess. So I don't think the dynamic has changed much, really. It's kept on going the way it is. His name is just now featuring on the albums, where previously it wasn't really. except for just producer credits.
Okay. How take me through the recording, because I got a little crossed up in who's actually on the record, right? It's you, Yiffert, and not Jimmy or Benny.
Yeah, it's we had a bunch of people. You know what happened was there was we were obviously heading towards the lockdown back then.
Yes.
And it was just slightly before the lockdown when we started recording, but the band was all over the place. We'd just come back from Europe, and some of the guys were in one city, other people were in another city, and SA isn't as big as the USA, for instance, but it's still like between some cities you have a 16-hour travel period, so it's just didn't make sense. And we decided we still need to get the album out, so I was tracking mostly with Effort, and then with whichever guests were available at that point, whoever was passing through the studio, and we just kind of put it together. And then since then we made a decision that it's not been discussed in public yet, but we've decided Ruff Majik's not a band, it's a cult. Everyone's in Ruff Majik, and no one's in Ruff Majik. Like, you're in Ruff Majik. If you can learn to play songs and we come on tour, you can totally join the band. That's how it works.
I can't, but thank you. Yes, I appreciate the offer. Yes, I'll pass it along to whoever.
Yeah, just let everyone know. But yeah, so that was mostly the process. It was me and Ifrit sitting down and knuckling down and getting the songs tracked, and then getting whoever in on drums or percussion or whatever anyone could lend us at that point. And it's all musicians from the South African scene that we're all very connected with. So it's like, it was a big family affair, basically. Yeah.
How do you feel working it like that instead of sort of having the core band affected the sound of the album?
Well, it doesn't really trouble me that much. It's like I said, it just felt as normal as it usually did, I guess.
How normal is that?
I mean, quite normal, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, honestly, I'll tell you, we're working on a new album now. Already a follow-up for the Devil's Cattle. I'm not really sure what direction we're going in yet, because it's all sorts of different sounds happening. But this time around, we went and did live recordings again, which we didn't really do on the Devil's Cattle. And we again used like a whole bunch of people circling around, like different drummers and different bass players. Jimmy was playing guitar on some songs, he was playing bass on some songs. Ifrit was playing piano and guitar, sometimes he wasn't playing at all. It's just a weird mix mash of things, but it's quite nice. I enjoy doing it because then every song gets a different flavor.
Yeah, I think that's one of the strengths of the Devil's Cattle, is you never quite know how it's going to hit you next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone brings their own little flavor to every song. Like, every different player has a different idea of how to do something. It's a quite cool effect, because I usually just come up with the basic riff and melody for the song, and I'm like, this is what I'm thinking, and then people add in whatever, and we get whatever we get. And it's a cool experience.
I mean, that was a pretty big leap. Well, I mean, coming off of Tarn, going into the Devil's Cattle was a pretty, it was a marked change, right, in the sound of the band, in the sort of overall output. As you said, Tarn going for more of the garage rock sound, the Devil's Cattle going for all the sounds all the time.
Yes.
How do you then build off the Devil's Cattle and sort of push that even further with new songs?
Well, that's a good question, and we're figuring it out at this moment. I honestly don't know where things are going or where we're going from here. Like, with the new tunes, there are a couple of, I feel, really weird sounding things that we haven't done before, and I know when I say that Ruff Majik has always done something kind of weird, but you know, it's this one's feeling real weird in some sense.
How so?
It's hard to say. I mean, I could explain it to you if I played you the song, but I'm not allowed to play you the song. Warren might kill me if I start
Oh,
divulging
Warren,
info right now.
Warren will be just fine. Come on.
No, I don't know. It's interesting. We're working with I don't know. It's not as straightforward as it used to be in some instances. So there's just some really strange sounding weird patterns and whatever in songs, and then there are other songs that are more straightforward than anything we've ever made before. There are, you know, they might be radio hits even, which would be an absolute surprise. But but yeah,
if there was a radio, yes,
yeah, but it's all over the place again. So yeah, hopefully it builds on the Devil's Cattle, or if it doesn't, it's just going to take us in a whole new weird direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was your obviously touring with the pandemic, but was your writing affected at all by sort of, I don't know what the lockdown situation was in South Africa, but you said, you know, as you were finishing the recording, as you were getting into the recording, it was lockdown. Was writing subsequent to that affected at all by sort of being stuck?
I think so. But it like subconsciously, because during the first period of lockdown, we were all like stuck at home, obviously couldn't get to each other to work on stuff. And I was working on a bunch of music back then, but just on my laptop with like a little jack plugged in, just figuring out some riffs. And the thing is, like 2 months ago, when while we started work on the new album, I was listening back to some of the stuff I recorded, and I can't remember any of it. You know, it's just I was recording this stuff, but I don't know if I was fully there. I think my brain was dealing with the pandemic, and my body was on like a autopilot mode, and was just like, you need to keep recording stuff, which is probably why some of it came out a bit weird, because it's just my mind. You know, I don't know if there was a constant flow of oxygen to my brain at that point, but it made for some really interesting stuff. And then, you know, we had to kind of sit together and figure out what the hell I was playing then, because I don't remember what it was. So yeah, that's been part of the process of the new album. It's just going through whatever I wrote in lockdown and trying to figure out what it is.
And that's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's going well so far.
That's good. How far along are you?
Well, I mean, I guess I could tell you we're nearly done, but yeah, but that doesn't mean the album will be released soon, because we still haven't decided how we're going with it. And, like, we don't have a set date for when we want stuff released yet. We have a lot of music now, and we are still, you know, working on it, putting in the bells and whistles and whatnot, and then we'll see.
Right. And in the meantime, you know, I obviously, you know, you feel for everybody in a pandemic, right? Like, but I tend to feel a little bit more for bands who put out a good record and can't do anything with it. You know, like Ruff Majik, you're up in Europe, right? You're doing festivals, you're running here and you're running there. You put out this killer album and you're stuck at home. You know, so what do you know, I know you've done videos and stuff, and I know the Swine Tooth Grin video is coming out. But what the hell, man? Like,
yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was an absolute bummer. I mean, because we were gearing up because we knew what we had down and we knew what we had created. So I was looking forward to a good festival season in Europe, and, you know, going and smashing some stuff up. And yeah, hopefully, well, last year the plan was to get further than Europe, you know, and to try and find our way. We actually found a booking agency that was keen to take us on in the USA. We had some folks interested in Australia as well. So we were aiming for all of that to just be like, here we are. This is this is the new sound.
Yeah.
Get used to it, that kind of thing. And then, yeah, I mean, pandemic hit, we couldn't travel, and it was weird. So we made the videos because, I mean, honestly, that's the best you can do to kind of get stuff out there. We did one live recording session, like a live video session, but that's not really my vibe. I mean, it was fun to play and whatever, and it made for cool footage to put on YouTube, but it's kind of weird playing without an audience. It's not normal. So yeah, I guess we got focused on writing new material pretty quickly after that, because, you know, we just kind of got stuck. So
Right.
what else can you do?
That's it, because you got to do something.
Yeah.
The live streaming thing, I've heard that from a lot of artists where it's like, yeah, this is a thing we could be doing, but like without that audience connection, that it sort of leaves you a little, empty in that way. Um, Coming from the other side of it, watching, uh, of course, it's not the same either, right? But like, I've never seen Ruff Majik live. Like at least with a live stream, I can get a little sense of what that experience might be like. Who's doing what at any given moment. Um, so I feel like there are arguments to be made in favor or not in favor of it. It's not at all a perfect system, but at least it's something.
Yeah, no, that's true. I don't know. Like I said, we did do one, and we tried one, and it was, it was cool for the footage, like I said, but otherwise, yeah, kind of boring, I guess. I've been thinking though, because things are slowly starting to change back, and people are, able to play shows and whatever. And I feel like that could be a cooler thing, to have a stream going at an actual live show. If you have a crowd there and the band's having a good time, and then you just do a live stream of the concert also, that could be, yeah, that to me sounds like a cooler time.
Yes. You mean a show? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that does sound cooler. Um, do you have anything planned for hitting the road again? I'm starting to see 2022 dates come around.
Yeah, we've been in discussions so far, but nothing that I can divulge just yet, and nothing that's completely set in stone right now. The problem is, all the countries aren't on the same level in vaccinations and all that kind of stuff, and unfortunately South Africa isn't very on top of the game, I would say. So there's a possibility that we're going to lag behind with the other countries. If everything else is already opened up, we're still going to be dealing with bits of our pandemic, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a complicated discussion, because we're having discussions, and people are looking to book us, and we've had back and forth emails and whatever, but it keeps coming down to, we have to figure out our vaccine situation first. And it's not on the cards just yet, so we'll see how it goes down.
Well, you are full of secrets today. What can't talk about the new material, no, it's all right. Can't talk about the tour. It's cool, man. It's cool. What is the sort of restriction situation there, the lockdown situation where you are now?
Well, currently, we're still, our lockdown went in levels. So it started at level 5, which was the most hardcore one, and you can't get out of your house, whatever. And in SA, it was also, they banned alcohol and tobacco products in the same run. So we were dealing with that. And then they loosened the restrictions and started them up again, and loosened them, and tightened them again. It's been going in waves, but we've been on level 1 of lockdown for quite a while now, and basically it's allowed for bars and venues to reopen, but at a very small capacity. So it's maximum 250 people indoors, but that's depending on the size of the venue. Like the venue should be able to take 1,000 people before it's
Right.
250 people, and then maximum for outdoor events right now is I think it's 500. So yeah, things are kind of getting a move on, but at the same time, we're waiting for our president to speak, because according to all the news outlets, we're heading into our third wave as of last week, and we're waiting for them to kind of tell us we're going back into a more restricted, harder lockdown again. But yeah, right now it's just kind of speculation. We don't know. It's just, you read the news, you look at the numbers going up, and you're like, oh yeah, well, I've seen this before.
Right.
You know, kind of know how it's going to go down.
Right. It's amazing how that becomes like the new awful normal. Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah. You mentioned the ban on alcohol. Last year you did a Days of Rona feature for my site, and you mentioned you were making your own liquor.
That's correct, yes.
Tell me about making your own liquor.
Well, I mean, it was out of necessity, not just for the fun of it. But yeah, just like, damn it, sorry, the sun's moved.
Yeah.
No, I need to. There we go. Yeah, we were in the first lockdown, and initially the lockdown was going to be, I think it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It was one of the two, and they were like, okay, they're doing this, they're banning all the tobacco products, they're banning all the alcohol, and then in 2 or 3 weeks they open up and it's fine. But they never did. I think we stayed in that lockdown for about 2 months. So then, you know, obviously you run out of the supply you had, and then eventually you just really want something, you know, a beer or a wine or whatever. And it started circulating online real quick, just different ways to kind of either brew your own stuff or to distill your own stuff. And, you know, we were all getting into it then. So we did a couple batches of different beers. We made some mead, which was nice. I was going to try my hand at distilling something, but then a lot of people went blind from distilling their own liquor, which, you know, that happens because people don't know what they're doing. And I was just like, do I know what I'm doing? Probably not. So I didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah, I brewed a bunch of stuff, and then at some point we just started bootlegging, man. Like, I'm not even lying. We had like a secret compartment in our car, and I was just driving around with booze.
What was the, I mean, I get closing bars, right? Obviously, because you don't want people gathering, but what was the philosophy behind banning alcohol? It seems to me if you're locked in your house, maybe having a drink and is a good idea.
The thing is, I mean, a lot of people were really annoyed by it. And I mean, I was annoyed by it, but there were some good points about why they did it, because South Africa as a country is, you know, it doesn't do very well in terms of poverty and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the most poor communities, or the most like, yeah, I don't, like, they have a hard time with alcohol abuse because, you know, life isn't great. And in their like, a big part of the point was, if people are going to stay at home and be drinking, there's going to be a rise in domestic violence, and there's going to be a rise in just violence, you know, between households or whatever, that's going to kind of fill up the hospitals, and then we won't be able to have enough beds for COVID patients. That was the main part of the argument. And the other part of the argument was, when people drink, they don't really care for rules and social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And especially in like the impoverished communities, there's not a lot of space, so everybody's kind of just next to each other anyway. I don't know if it was effective though.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if it actually helped to keep any of that down, but that was what they were saying. But it's hard to really pin down if any of those regulations ended up working or not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Yeah, the statistics would show that. Yeah, I know in the U.S. There was a rise in domestic
in
violence.
domestic violence.
Yeah, sort of across demographics.
So the
But
thing is, I I had the idea about that as well because we had still had issues with domestic violence, obviously,
mm,
and the thought that I had back then was, I mean, it's horrible. Obviously, you don't want that happening, but also at the same time, a rise in domestic violence statistically makes sense because people are stuck at home, and if the guy was already abusive, um, and now he's locked in his house for who knows how long, then you kind of assume it would go in that direction.
yeah,
So I don't know if alcohol actually had an effect on that. But I'll tell you what, the alcohol one I could kind of get behind. I mean, it sucked, but I was like, okay, these people are making some fair points. I did not understand the tobacco ban. That it drove me absolutely insane.
yeah,
But, that went down as well.
yeah. I guess I mean that's got to just be about people not going out to buy cigarettes. You would think. I don't know.
No, but I mean, people were going out to buy things anyway. You might as well get cigarettes while you're going out.
It's true.
But yeah, I don't know. They had lots of reasons for that, but also at the same time, nobody really believed the government at that point. They were just like, yeah, there's something's happening, you know, like some under the table dealings, maybe. We don't know. But it didn't matter. I mean, it took about 2 weeks and then the market stabilized itself with illegal cigarettes. Like cigarettes went up 90% in price, and then 2 weeks later it just kind of balanced out again.
Are you a smoker?
Yes, I am, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's a nasty habit.
that sounds hard. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You're a singer. You don't need to be smoking. Just cut that shit
No,
out.
I mean, I
Come
guess
on.
that's true.
You
I
can't be
always
you
feel
can't
like if
be
I
smoking cigarettes and putting out a record every year. Come on. No.
I always feel like if I stop smoking now, maybe my voice just changes and I can't sing anymore. No, I'm joking. No, I really should quit. I did quit actually for a little while.
I would think
lockdown because-
a 90% price increase might be a powerful motivator. Yes.
Yeah, so I couldn't get cigarettes for a while, but then when they were available again, I was just like, well, might as well smoke again. It is what it is,
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, you're most of the way done with a new recording that you can't talk about. That's cool.
Well, we can talk about it. It's just I can't give any very specific details.
Okay. Well, okay. You said, you mentioned with Tarn you were listening to a lot of black metal. And sort of blending that with a garage rock sound and putting it all together like that. What were you listening to during lockdown?
You see, now that's a good question because it's possibly going to be a big influence on the album. I ended up listening to. I always have like a what would you call it? Like I have a base structure of music I listen to, like the stuff I always kind of go back to, which is just your classic rock and roll, I guess, and whatever blends in with that. And then, there's the outliers that I get to sometime. And during lockdown, or mostly during the recording of this album, I got really into some weird synthwave and like Russian goth music. So
Like who?
I think it's going to have an effect on how the album's going to sound, or it definitely should. But yeah, I have no particular reason for why that happened. It just kind of went down and it got mixed into my general playlist, and now it's become part of my brain.
Like who? What artist? What band?
I'm not entirely sure how to say this band's name. Sorry, the sun is really killing me at this point. I need to turn around. This is better. Yeah. There's a band called, I think it's Molkat Doma, maybe. You spell it Molchat and then Doma.
Okay.
And they're a Russian band. They kind of sound something like, I would say, between Joy Division and Depeche Mode, but Russian.
Okay.
Really fun. I enjoy them quite a lot, but it was a bit weird. It's not my general go-to thing. And then I ended up listening to a lot of Danzig or Danzig. I don't know which way to say his name. I did listen to him before. I quite like him, you know, just like buff goth Elvis. It's a cool vibe.
Yes.
But just ended up listening to a lot more of him over the course of this time. So I don't know how I found myself going down a weird goth spiral, but it just kind of happened.
Okay. And does that sort of bring a sense of drama, theatricality to Ruff Majik songs?
It might. Like,
or at least some more keyboards, right?
Yeah. Well, we were already adding in some more keyboards and organs
true.
On Devil's Cattle. And so this time around, we've got some more of that in as well. I was just like, yeah, you know, why not?
Yeah. And Effort sort of definitely brings that vibe. And his solo record, too, is fantastic with that. So
yeah, that's a fantastic record. He's actually got another one coming as well, soonish. Also don't have a release date specifically planned, but this whole new album, I played along with some songs on that. I don't remember what I was playing even. I either did guitar or bass or both on different songs, but that's something that happened. Yeah, we had a lot of time, so a lot of recording happened.
Right. It's what the hell else were you doing? Yes, of course.
Exactly.
Yes. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Johni. I'm going to stop the recording. But I very much look forward to seeing Ruff Majik on stage live at some point in my life, and to the next album. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, as soon as we can make it, we definitely will.
Yeah.
And I hope you got enough out of me rambling too.
I love the rambling. Rambling's good. Hang on a second.